رسول الله صلى الله على طه خير الخلق وأحلاها.
Okay, after that background into how the Muslim philosophers, the Falasifa, viewed nature and laws of nature, now we're in a better position to understand their theory on miracles. So, this is a naturalistic view on miracles, which is very interesting, it's very unique. So, this view of the philosopher that we discussed, that they held things have natures, inherent natures, and their laws of nature, cause and effect holds, all of this actually comes under naturalism, which is that everything in the universe can be understood within the framework of the laws of nature. So the nature can be understood as being contained within this box, and all of the explanations of whatever happens in the universe must be provided keeping this in mind that it's all the work of laws of nature. So this can be contrasted with supernaturalism, for example, or how in religion we hold that a supernatural deity, a being, is controlling nature. But there's a difference here. Uh, Things work under the cause and effect scheme, and the laws of nature govern everything. Things work under the cause and effect scheme. Everything has an antecedent, and then that results in an effect. And the laws of nature govern everything, according to this view, right? So today's science, now there's a difference between the naturalism of Muslim philosophers, the philosopher, and the way naturalism holds today. So today's science is naturalistic. All of science today is naturalistic, but the difference between the current naturalism and Muslim naturalism of the philosopher was that the Muslims accepted Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be the ultimate cause, whereas today God plays no role in scientific research. It's a matter of personal choice, and when you go into the lab, there's no resort to any sort of supernatural explanation or a supernatural being exerting any control. So, in a sense, when we hear like famous scientists, somebody like Stephen Hawking, Stephen Weinberg, Lawrence Krauss, saying that there's nothing out there except for the laws of physics. There's no God, just the laws of physics. That's actually not really the science, their science, that is speaking. That is this underlying assumption of naturalism that is speaking. So essentially, that is a conjecture, that is an assumption. It's not really a fact, it's not provable, it's not empirical, it's just an assumption, a first principle on which they've built their science. Muslims had a different one, and a Muslim philosopher had this one, the one that we've been talking about. So it's naturalism, but it does hold Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the cause. And also, we're going to see even like supernatural entities are also included in this definition of nature, which is very interesting. So, for Muslim philosophers, miracles are rationally accountable and explainable. The world functions according to the laws of nature, and this is the ordinary course of things. Now, you would think that for somebody who holds the laws of nature very dear and holds that things are causes and effects, that's how the universe functions, miracles must be out of the picture, not possible. How can something which is completely different from the usual course of cause and effect actually take place in the universe? But that is not the case with Ibn Sina and the philosophers who belonged to his school, which was the dominant school of philosophy in the Muslim world. They accepted miracles as being rationally accountable and explainable. But according to them, then the world functions according to the laws of nature. Yes, that's true. That being the ordinary course of things.
But there can be other courses that the functioning of the world can take as well. These make miracles completely within the scheme of nature. So, what is being said is that you have, notice here, they're trying to keep miracles completely within the scheme of nature. And their opinion is that, yes, nature has an ordinary course of things that we see, but there can be something which is beyond this ordinary course as well, which we call miracles. So that's why we call it a naturalistic view on miracles, because they are not resorting to even divine intervention or a violation or break of the laws of nature. They're saying, no, it's within the scheme of nature. Miracles are within the scheme of nature, and the way they do it is because they're incorporating something which is non-physical, immaterial in their scheme and their definition of nature. So Ibn Sina, for example, he says, you must know that in nature there are marvels, and that the active superior powers, along with the passive inferior ones, produce unfamiliar things. So what are these active superior powers? This is the immaterial things, beings and entities that Ibn Sina is incorporating into his conception of nature. So for him, then, nature is not how today's naturalistic science views nature. He takes the power of prophets and mystics into account as part of the natural world. That's where he differs from how we understand naturalism today, is that Ibn Sina's view and his theory of nature is that there are immaterial beings also affecting the physical world. Okay, so this is very important in his whole scheme, and which was adopted by the other Muslim philosophers as well. So he attributes miracles to the power and agency of a strong and noble soul. Current views regard, now here's the distinction. Current views on science, the way we understand and study science today, they regard the natural world to consist of physical things. Everything's just physical, right? But material. But Ibn Sina included the human soul to be part of the causal nexus of nature. So this is the distinction here. Even immaterial things are included in his conception of nature. And because of them being higher and finer and more powerful, they can effect change. And whenever they do so, we see not the ordinary and not the usual course of things. We see what we would call miracles. Okay, so according to him, a powerful soul like that of a prophet or mystic can influence other bodies and even bring about changes in the natures of things. So this is important. So this is where he places his whole theory of miracles, which is, according to him, completely within the scheme of how nature functions. Let's understand it by means of an example now. Now, this is reported in traditional Muslim sources, this meeting between Ibn Sina and Abu Sa'id, who was a Sufi. In a bathhouse, the latter asked the philosopher-scientist if it were true that a heavy body seeks the center of the earth. So Abu Sa'id, the Sufi, asked Ibn Sina, is it true that a heavy body seeks the center of the earth? So that's like our gravitational theory. So of course they discussed gravitation at that time as well. So Ibn Sina replied in the affirmative. He said, yes, of course. So Abu Sa'id subsequently took up his metal vase and threw it in the air, whereupon instead of falling down, it stayed up in the air. Fascinating. So what's the reason for this, he asked. And Ibn Sina answered that the natural motion would be the fall of the vase, but that a violent force was preventing this natural motion. So, this is a miracle. He threw the vase up, it doesn't come down, it's there in the air. He asked, what's the reason for this? If that is what you're saying, that's what it should have happened. Ibn Sina says that's the natural course of things. It should have happened this way. But a violent force is preventing this natural motion. So he's giving a naturalistic definition of this unnatural event, you would say, a supernatural event. And the Sufi asks, what's the violent force? Abu Sa'id asks, and Ibn Sina then says, it's your soul which acts upon it. So again, we see in his scheme of miracles, souls are also included in the whole idea of nature, this whole scheme of nature, and souls have been given the power, again, of course, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to effect this change in the natural physical world. And that's when we witness miracles.